Hey guys, we got to talk about this FTC versus Microsoft case. There has been just bombshell after bombshell over the course of the last several days, and today brings this into more of my wheelhouse. Back in 2019, I made a video called Who's Buying Xbox Next, talking about Sega and Square-Enix as two of the most potential candidates that I could see for acquisition. Obviously, a lot of people didn't call this into question at the time. They didn't necessarily believe me, but we were actually behind the scenes looking at the financials, and shout out to my dad for helping me understand all of what the numbers meant. Now here we are 2 years later, and yes, it's actually true. Microsoft tried to buy Square-Enix, or thought about buying Square-Enix again. Microsoft thinking about buying Sega. Literally, Microsoft has the capacity to buy everything, and that's part of what the court case is hearing. What are we seeing? What are they trying to do? And it's interesting because I think more positive news for Xbox fans is actually coming out of the gate. Sony paying to keep games off of Xbox, something that always was kind of interestingly argued. People would say, no, that's not true. This isn't really happening, but yes, it actually is. And also, like Sony, not really caring that Microsoft buys Activision, but instead just trying to muck up the system and slow it down. Honestly, guys, this has been huge revelation after huge revelation, but already we're long in the intro. Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name's Brian. We got a lot to talk about. Let's start with PMS Jordan tweeting this out. Whoa! This is why back in 2019, Phil Spencer said that Final Fantasy XIV was coming to Xbox, and that was true. Yet, here we are, 2023. Years later, what is going on? No word. I see a lot of people within the Final Fantasy XIV community hashing out like things from like 2010, 2011, but all these things have been resolved. Yoshi P, Phil Spencer, all say they want to put Final Fantasy XIV on the Xbox, yet here it remains as a void of that platform. But they're quote tweeting from Steven, who talks about how the FTC exhibit here in 2019, Microsoft mulled about buying the company again. They tried to do it back in the original Xbox, and Square Enix said they wanted more money, and Microsoft walked away. And now here they are again, thinking about considering buying this, at least back in 2019, moving all the games into Xbox. Steven goes on to say the strategy proposal was for existing Square Enix games to launch on the announced platforms. Future games would ship day and date on Game Pass, which they note would cannibalize the sales. Team wanted to explore trade-offs of selling Square Enix's content exclusively on Xbox versus competing consoles. The quote here in terms of the document says, regarding the concerns and dyssynergies, we will continue to ship and operate all Square Enix currently announced and released games across all relevant platforms. This would add a substantial first-party revenue across console, PC, and mobile. Our operating plan is for us to ship all future Square Enix releases into Xbox Game Pass on the day and the date basis and preference for Project Scarlet. This is obviously the Xbox One X, so this isn't even before the series stuff was announced. We anticipate that this plan would have a negative impact on Square Enix's existing transactional business gaming business, and cannibalizing some portion of the game sales by both owned and competing endpoints. But really where this takes an interesting additional turn is in regards of what Jim Ryan and Chris here are talking about in relation to the acquisition of Activision Blizzard. Going on to say, it's fascinating. Tom is tweeting this out. Here's the bombshell. Jim Ryan emailed about Xbox exclusivity with Chris Deering, who says Microsoft would have been better off announcing an electric car than trying to buy Activision. The reason being, he goes into detail, this major cash out will lure most of the talent and take the money and run as fast as their contracts will allow, leaving Microsoft with a very gnarly management challenge. And I bet Eves is smiling all the way like a chest-tired cat. This was a play. If this was a play to end the run of the PS5, I think it's a massively overvalued and will not meaningfully succeed. I guess Microsoft can piss away that kind of valuation without being harmed more than helped, but them not losing a wink of sleep over the future of our baby, I hope you agree. So here is such an interesting development. I'd love to hear your thoughts, whether you're pro PlayStation 5, can't even say, blah, 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 blah. You're pro Xbox, you're somebody like me who is just console agnostic and just likes and wants good games. I would say that for anybody who's new, who doesn't know my stance, I don't think games should be exclusive to consoles, but I could get behind the timed exclusive, namely from a developer perspective. As an engineer myself, it would be much easier to make a game for one platform and then essentially as a timed exclusive, then later master it out for another platform. I think that could be the first party play that would benefit gamers around the world and also these publishers around the world. More game sales equals more money, more revenue, and that's what we're seeing, I guess, with the whole Sony model. Now, I get that people have their favorite console, whether it's Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo Switch. Like, it doesn't matter to me. I just want people to have more games and better games in their hands. This is what's really up for debate here. This is where, does Game Pass, does the Microsoft model help? I have no issue with people buying MMAs. Makes sense, a lot of people. And that's really kind of the point. Buying Activision, a lot of people get a lot of paydays. Are they going to really want to stick around and work? How do you incentivize that? We saw Sony acquire Bungie with like $3.6 billion, and a big chunk of that money is to retain the talent so they don't say, yeah, it's been nice working. I think I'm going to go sit on a beach and drink myself into oblivion. I don't know what you would do if you got a lot of money. I don't have a lot of money. I don't really think about it, what I would do. I think I'd probably play more games and stream more games. So it is one way or the other, but I definitely would make my own games. That's a part of the plan. That's what we're working on behind the scenes. And hopefully one day I'll be able to deliver something really cool for you guys. Anyhow, I think the Square-Enix play, I think the Sega play, I think all of these things really harper back to what I was talking about years ago with you guys, and now in and of itself proves that video out to be true. In my opinion, you can let me know. I'll link the old video in case you want to go watch it for yourself. I think the thumbnail's pretty great, what I did with Sonic on the front cover, but it is going to be what it is. Now, not here to waste your time. I just like to get your thoughts about this development. What about the FTC? Where are you guys feeling, thinking, and hoping that we see next? Because it seems like every day, more and more news is coming out. Now, personally, if I was going to put money down on it, I would still bet that Microsoft is going to be able to close on Activision Blizzard. I think the FTC will not end up blocking the deal, but I could be wrong. And honestly, it'll be interesting to see what happens one way or the other, whether I am right or am wrong at the end of the day. But I feel like this seems like everything I'm hearing from the judge, everything I'm seeing online is kind of leaning to that. Yeah, Microsoft has every ability to purchase this company, not just with the cash, but also at the same time as more trying to even out the playing field for competitive nature. Now, still don't think that they should only release their games on Xbox, but I think that we might get to an interesting point where, what if PlayStation first party came to Xbox a year later or 2 years later, whatever that time frame was? I think gamers win that way, and I think also publishers and the game devs win. I don't see a situation in which that ultimately impacts it, but I could be wrong, and I'd love to hear your thoughts, especially if you disagree. Anyway, guys, if you like the video, hit that like button. If you didn't like the video, double tap that dislike button. I hear it's not working as well, but thanks so much for being here. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully I'll see you in the next one, but until then, take care.